We continue today with the 8th chapter of the book of Shmuel. This is a chapter that really talks about consolidation of the kingdom by David. It's not a chapter that has too much drama, but don't worry, we'll get there soon. And it was after this, after David had asked God if he could build the Beit HaMikdash, build a temple, a house for God, and God said no, but your son will. That is to say, you will have a dynasty. Vayach David at Plishtim, vayach Niim. So David attacked the Philistines and subdued them. Vayikach David at Meteg Ha'amah miyad Plishtim. And David took the place called Meteg Ha'amah from the Plishtim. So David here, the Plishtim have been over the course of the last 50, 100 years, time of Eli, the time of Shmuel, the time of Shaul, into the time of David, the enemy of Bnei Israel, the thorn in the side. And David once again defeats them. So David is surpassing Shaul, who in his great battle lost to the Plishtim. Further, Vayachet Moab, Vayimdedein bechevel hashkevotam artzav v'amadei shnei chavalim lahamitum lo achevel lachayot vati Moab l'David lavadim nosei mincha. And David also defeated the Moabites. He lied them down, this is pretty brutal, on the ground and measured them with a cord. He measured out 2 lengths of the cord for those who were put to death and 1 length for those to be spared. And the Moabites became tributary vassals of David. This is a very difficult understanding. Why would he do something so terrible? And there is a whole midrashic idea about it, because we have to remember a couple things. One, David's great-grandmother was a Moabite. And in fact, in the last book, after David first tries to go to the Philistines and they refuse him admittance, he runs to the Moabites with his parents and asks the king of Moab to protect his parents. And so the commentaries say that David's parents were killed by the king of Moab or by Moabites. And so David here is taking revenge against them. He thought that they would be protected. His great-grandmother was a Moabite root. So why are they not protecting his parents? So that's some of the commentaries trying to understand why this sounds so very brutal. So David's winning battles. Continuing in verse 3, Vayach David Hadad Ezer ben Rechov Melech Tzova Belechto Lashiv Yado ben Arprat. He also defeated Hadad Ezer, the king of Tzova. So this is a little bit far away. He was on his way to restore his monument and to restore his supremacy at the Euphrates River. This is how far David's kingdom is getting. This is somebody who's not so close. Sova, of course, is in Syria, and he'll go further. But he was going. Why is David involved in wars that are going to happen all the way in the Euphrates River? Well, he's becoming really a regional power, is what Israel is becoming now. David mimenu elef ushvameot prarashim v'esrim elef ish ragli vayaker David kol harechav yoter mimenu mea rechav. He captured 1,700 horsemen and 20,000 foot soldiers, and he hamstrung all the chariots except for 100, which he retained. Vatavo aram Damesek, and then he went to Damascus, Lazor lahadadezer melech Sova, to go help Hadadezer melech Sova, because now that he had defeated him, now he was under the guise. David is in control of him, so David's going to have to help him. It's like he's a vassal to David. And David struck down 22,000 Arameans. And so now those in Damascus, David sets up fortresses and garrisons there, and the Arameans are also now servants. They have to give tribute to David. And God helped David. He gave him victory in everywhere that David all the battles. Of course, we see the word Vayosha. It reminds us of by Az Yashir, right? God's intervention. And even though David is fighting these wars, we have God here is intervening and helping David. And we've talked about this before. God is always with David because David is always with God, and he's charmed and everybody loves him. All the members of the house of Shaul, all of Bnei Yisrael, and God as well. God is with David, and that is why he's so successful. We saw in the last chapter that part of the reason God is always with him is because David's willing to be an Eved Hashem. 2 chapters ago, he's willing to embarrass himself if that's what it takes to honor God. Or in yesterday's chapter where God says, you can't do this. He says, no problem. Whatever you tell me, God, I'm your servant. I'll do what you ask. Vayach David, we're in verse 7. At Shiltei HaZahav asher hayu el avdei Hadadezer vayivem Yerushalayim. David took the gold shields that were carried by Hadadezer's retinue and his entourage, and he brought them to Jerusalem. And from Betah, from these different towns, he took vast amount of of copper. So here he's got all of these different quivers, arrows, he's got gold, he's got silver, right? He's adding to the great wealth of Bnei Yisrael. He's leading them in battle. If you remember back, I think it was chapter 8, maybe it was chapter 7 in Shmuel Aleph, where Bnei Yisrael asked for a king, and the number one reason they ask for a king is to lead them out in battle, to defend them, and probably also to raid others in order to gain territory and wealth, etc., etc. So David here is successful in this way. Verse 9, Pasuk Tet, Vayishma Toi Melech Hamat ki kad David kol chel Hadadezer. So the king of Hamat hears that David defeated the entire army of Hadadezer. Vayishlach Toi et Yoram beno el Hamelech David lishal lo lishalom ulevarcho al asher nilcham b'Hadadezer vayikehu ki yish milchamot Toi haya Hadadezer. So what happens? This King Toi, he sends his son Yoram to greet David, to congratulate him for defeating Hadadezer, because Toi was in war with Hadadezer. And so Yoram brought also more silver, more gold, more copper, and all these things. What is David doing with all these gold and silver and copper? He's not making himself a gold-plated wagon or gold-plated chariot or whatever it might be. He's using them in the service of God. And this is something to note, which we'll note in later chapters, probably in the book of, early in the book of Melachim. While David is not allowed to build the Beit HaMikdash, he does everything but build. He gets the materials, he draws up the blueprints. And this really, it's not told to us in the book of Melachim, it's really told to us in Divrei Hayamim, which we have a while until we get there. But here we see David is taking all these things and he's dedicating them to God. So it could just be generally dedicating to God, to sacrifice, whatever it might be, or it could be already that he's getting ready these things for when his son, as he's been told, will be able to build the temple. So he took all the gold and silver that he took from the nations, which he conquered, he dedicates to God. And again, the realization, David knows he's winning these battles not because of his great prowess, not because they're great strategy, but because God is with him at all times. We're in verse 12. Pasuk Yudbet, me Aram, me Moab, me Ammon, me Plishtim, me Malek, me Shalal, Hadadezer ben Rechov, Melech Tzova. Vayas David Shein Bishuvo Me'akotot Aram B'Gei Melech Shmonim Eser Elef. So right, he defeats Edom and Moab and Ammon and the Plishtim and Amalek, and we talked about Hadadezer, and he gains fame when he returns from the valley of Edom. He returns with 18,000 people. He's really just victorious and more victorious and more victorious. Vayasem be'Edom, and now in Edom, what does he place there? Nitzavim b'chol Edom, sham nitzavim, vayi kol Edom avadim l'David, vayosha Adonai David b'chol asher alef. Right, so now he conquers the Edomites, and they become vassals. They have to give tribute. They have their sort of servants to David, and we're told again that God is with David in everything that he did. Vayimloch David al kol Yisrael, vayi David oseh mishpat utzedakah l'chol amo. And David reigned all over all of Israel, and he acted as the judge. He executed justice, true justice, to all of his people. A couple significant things about that we talked moments ago. A king right was to wage war, and also Malkenu lishoftenu. The Jews were not happy with the sons of Shmuel. Shmuel was a great shofet. Shmuel was a great person, but his sons were not. They weren't like the sons of Eli, who were rotten to the core, but they were not of the caliber and quality of Shmuel, and thus they wanted a king also to judge them. And here we see David is doing that, and he's doing it l'chol amo. David has already been. He went from king of Yehuda to the king of the entire people, and that's the way he's acting. That's significant, not only because of all the tribes, but if we think of what the role of a king is or what the role of the government, it's not only for your friends and it's not only for the wealthy people. You have to be a king to everybody. You have to go and you have to serve equally the rich and the poor, those who have, those who are influential and those who aren't, the intelligent and the not so intelligent. David here is he's king over all of Israel, and he's king to everybody, irrespective of your stature in society. And now we're told that, and now we're telling, you make a kingdom, you have a little bit of bureaucracy. Don't worry, we'll get bigger under the reign of Shlomo, but we're told who these people are. The Yorav ben Sruya Latzavav, Yoshafat ben Achilud Maskir. So Yoav, we've mentioned him before, David's cousin, who is the general of the army. And we've already seen he has a penchant towards violence, but we'll see in the future he's also always defending David. His recorder, is Yehoshaphat. Could have just had an iPhone. Tzadok ben Achituv, Achimelech ben Aviatar, Kohanim, Usraya Sofer. We have Tzadok and Achimelech, who are the Kohanim. Okay, excuse me, Tzadok and Achimelech, who are the Kohanim. Achimelech, remember, was the Kohen, the one survivor from the city of Nov that was destroyed by Shaul and his associate Doeg. Usraya Sofer, and his scribe was named Sariah. Uvenayahu ben Yehoyada, and Benayahu ben Yehoyada we'll learn more about in upcoming chapters. Vahakreti, vahapleti. Now, there are those who look and understand the Kreti Pleti in more midrashic sense as referring to the Urim V'Tumim, but it means some sort of armed guard, revolutionary guard, those who sling arrows, and it's probably what it means. Uvnei David Kohanim Hayu, and the sons of David were Kohanim, were priests. So it's not clear to understand. Obviously, these last words, they weren't priests. David was from the tribe of Yehuda. How could he be priests? And we were just told earlier that the priests were Tzadok and Aviatar. And so the commentaries say, and they turn towards Divrei Hayamim, where it talks about them as being, officers. And that's what it means here, that they are Rashim Visarim is some of the words the commentary use. They are officers, they are in charge. It doesn't mean literally that they are Kohanim. We will have in the future numbers of different kings who will think of themselves or fashion themselves as not only king, but king and priest. We know from the time of Eli, if we go back to the beginning of Shmuel, that's not what God wants. Consolidation of power is never good. Eli, who was the Kohen, who is the Shofet, who is the Navi, that's not good. David, you cannot be a Kohen, and that's thus the commentaries at least understand that that's not what's supposed to be done. And as we said many times before, you can even go back in the Torah, the Parshat Shoftim, where we're told there are going to be all sorts of different leaders in Bnei Yisrael. They're going to be prophets, they're going to be priests, they're going to be kings, they're going to be judges, they're going to be police officers, etc., etc. You cannot have one person who has all the power. So David here is very powerful. He does reign. He is winning wars. He's judging the people purposely and well. And it almost seems like if this would be the end of his kingdom, that everything would be fine. But we know this is like a good eulogy, but the fun and the games, if we want to put it as such, is just about to happen. Everything seems fine. Things seem wonderful. He's got a whole kingdom. But unfortunately, the sort of more broad strokes that's being painted here into the life of David and to his reign, we are going to go from the forest into the trees, into the weeds. Come next week, and we'll see that unfortunately, not everything is going to go so smoothly.